A murder mystery on a train. How intriguing. Brothers and sisters, my name is Adaris and welcome to the review of Murder on the Orient Express. So Murder on the Orient Express is the billionth adaptation of the novel by the same name, I believe. And it has an extremely strong cast. If you don't know the story, then I won't get into much detail about it, but what you need to know is that there are 13, 14 people taking this train through the mountains. I don't know where it is. They go through some snowy mountains. And then while this train is derailed, a murder happens, and luckily for us, the world's greatest detective, Hercule Poirot? I don't know. Hercule Poirot? Poirier? Hercule. He's on the train and he's here to solve the case. And then we have our movie. So before I get into this review, you need to know one thing. I have never seen Murder on the Orient Express or read the novel. So for me, it was a mystery. That's a good thing, because some of my friends that I had with me during the screening was not that pleased. But here's what I liked about this movie. First of all, the cast. The cast is extremely strong and they know how to handle this script. The characters are not that well defined, but that is not the point here. The point here is the murder mystery and the fact that these people are different in subtle ways, and it is up to our detective and you, the viewer, to find out who is the killer. And each and every one of the actors and actresses did a magnificent job on this movie. Also, the cinematography is spot on. I mean, it is a joy to watch and look at. The set pieces was extremely well done and authentic. The CGI, and there was some, was not the best CGI, but it blended perfectly into the movie's aesthetics, and also the score was at sometimes even kind of haunting. However, this cannot make a movie great. You need the plot and you need the payoff. So the plot, well, the plot has been seen before since this is a new adaptation. However, the problem is that the setup for the murder, we all know it's gonna happen. It's in the title. We all know the murder's gonna happen, but the setup is clunky and drawn out. What I mean by that is, first you see Detective Hercule Poirot solve a case in the Middle East. And I know the reason why is to establish how good of a detective he is. I don't mind that. And then you see all these people getting on this train, and then it spends a lot of time on the train to establish each and every one of the characters subtly, and also the main victim, and the fact that the main victim is kind of a douchebag. And I don't think that the murder is happening before 30, maybe 40 minutes into the movie. That's a long time to wait for the plot to actually kick in. You need to know, before the man is murdered, the plot is not started yet. It hasn't. So you're waiting for the murder to happen so we can get on with the movie. And it takes such a long time to get there. And that's a drag. The other thing is that the murder mystery itself is a mixed bag. Sometimes the mystery is presented extremely well and you're sitting there yourself going over the clues and the evidence and trying to figure out who is the murderer, what is that person steal, and how could that person fit into the murder case, and what is that person steal and how can they fit into the murder case. And other times they gloss over things extremely quickly so you don't pick up what our main detective picks up. That also means that sometimes the detective will present some evidence or theories that seems to come out of nowhere, and I hate that. You need to, at least in some way, could see where the detective or the investigator gets his theories. They need to be based on something that you yourself have watched. Maybe you didn't pick up on it at that time, but when you are then presented with this theory, you might go, oh, that was that meant. and it doesn't really here. The movie also spends a lot of time in the murder investigation, actually in the beginning of the murder investigation, for the detective to interview every single one of the passengers. It makes sense, but it does kind of seem a bit drawn out, because when you have interviewed the last person, there might be 30 minutes left of the movie. So it spends almost, I don't know, an hour. And then I know there's a lot of things happening in between these interviews, but it does make the movie kind of a bumpy affair when you get to that point. Some of the interviews are extremely interesting, and some of them are actually just glossed over. And that is not a good thing, because that means that these people who have drawn out interviews, you know, that's important. Those who are glossed over, they are not important. And then there are our main character. You are told that he needs his rest, but for some reason, the more he investigates this murder mystery, the more he actually wants to solve it. And there's no explanation for it, and there's no hints given. By that I mean, if it was Sherlock Holmes, then you know he needs the mystery. Maybe he doesn't find it interesting to begin with, but then later on it keeps getting more interesting, and therefore he needs to solve, he needs to know the answers. But here, however, you can see that it is tiring him to solve these death mystery and murder mysteries all over the world. So why does he suddenly put so much effort into it? I mean, of course, a person has just been murdered, but in the beginning he declines to solve it. And also the detective, he has some odd quirks about him, and in the beginning of the movie, they are subtle and they make sense, but then later on, they are forced down your throat and exaggerated too much, so they kind of become, I don't know, odd. Doesn't seem right on the character. So you have that part of the murder mystery. Then there is the payoff. The payoff could have been done better. Since I haven't seen or read the story before, I myself could guess along with who the murderer was. And I first found out, I believe, 10 minutes before the payoff. So I wasn't that quick. But the reveal could have used a lot more build-up. It could have used a lot more investigation on the detective part, and then some clues shown, at least subtle, to the viewer. So when he's trying to make this grand reveal of who the murderer is, you can go along, go over all the evidence, and try to come up with your own theory. However, the reveal part is a bit drawn out and clunky for no reason except to make it a shock who the murderer is. However, when he explains who the murderer is and the murder itself, the music is haunting. And the reason it is haunting is because of the meaning of the murder. So what do you end up with? You end up with a movie that is at some points extremely well told and dealt with, and at other points it is extremely clunky and uneven, and the pace is all over the place, and the focus is, I don't even know what the focus is in those parts. On one side is the good bag, and the other side is bad bag. Mixed bag. That's what I'm looking for. It is a mixed bag. So, with the pros and cons of this movie, I would say that Murder on the Orient Express, you should catch it on Netflix. Meh experience. So, Murder on the Orient Express, have you seen it? Have you read it? Have you seen every other outing of this story? Whatever you think about it, comment below and read your thoughts. And as always, until I see you in the next video, remember to stay awesome. Bye! I am the world's greatest detective, at least when you ask me.